Hi friends. So I told you I was going to check something off my bucket list today, and I did. Today I went and got a tattoo. I'm going to show it to you. It says, "Wild horses will ride them someday." So most of you know I'm not really like a tattoo person. I do have a small one on my foot that's 3 nautical stars. They're really tiny that I got when I was like really young. And so anyway, it's a big deal for me. And I'll just say this spot really fucking hurts. But I just wanted to share with you guys kind of the story behind the tattoo and the meaning behind it. And I'll try not to get emotional, but most of you know, if you've been following me for a while, that my dad was a huge part of my life, and that we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary, or I'd say 1 year without my dad, and that's February 26th. And so I got a tattoo for him. For the most part, I mean, it was for me too, but it's really for him. And I'm going to get into the story behind all of that right now, which is stuff that I never really share with people, which is weird because you guys know I pretty much let it all hang out all the time. I share pretty much everything with you guys, all my struggles, you know. I really have no filter. I just kind of I just let it all out there. So it's just like weird for me that I've never really shared this part of my life with many people. If you've been my friend since we were kids, then you totally know all of this already. But even a lot of my coaches and my team and stuff like that, they don't know about this part of my life. And I feel like because it was so long ago and I feel like so far removed from it, that I don't really talk about it too much. But I am a huge believer in turning your mess into your message, and this is a huge part of my story and my life. And so I just kind of felt like, you know, whenever I share with my newer friends about this part of my life, they're all in shock. Like, what the hell? We would have never guessed that about you. You should share this with people. Like, you don't even understand. And I'm all about like inspiration. You know, I'm all about being inspired from others, and the way that I get inspired from others is when they're real, when they share like what's really going on in their life, because I think that there's so many people that have so much shit going on that other people can relate to or just, you know, connect with. And you know, that's the stuff that's scary to share. So anyway, let me get into the story, the meaning behind the tattoo. I went through a phase in my life that most parents pray that their kids don't go through. I got really into drugs and partying and all of that. And I got arrested. I went to jail. I went to jail for 6 months. And I then went to a rehab program, a Christian women's rehab program for 12 months, which I elected to go to because when I was sitting in jail, I was like, what the fuck happened and why am I here and what am I doing with my life? And all of this was so long ago. It was like 15 years ago. And so it's like, you know, I'm so like, my life is so different now than it was then, that it's like I don't really talk about that portion of my life because it's not really a struggle that's a struggle for me anymore. But most people would not look at me and think, all right, this chick has been to jail. She's been to rehab for 12 months. She had a drug problem. You know, if you're my friend, you know that. If you're my family, you know that. And so that's why for my dad, for me, when I really kind of found my path with coaching, he was just so proud of me and like my biggest encourager. And like, you know, he was always my biggest encourager regardless of what I had going on. Even when I was in jail, he would come and visit me when I decided that him and my brother were the only ones that would come see me, and he would freaking bawl. Because I'm sure that's terrifying. I would never want, you know, putting myself in those shoes. I'm like, oh my God. But when I decided I wanted to go into this, it was a Christian, a women's Christian kind of like program. And most people go for 3 months, but some people stay for 12 if like you feel like you really need help. And I was committed to changing. I was committed to doing things differently. So I signed up. I'm like, I want to go for 12 months. My dad paid for it. My dad would come visit me every week. And while I was in that women's Christian program, and it was gnarly, like we didn't watch TV. We couldn't listen to music. We studied the Bible all day. It was like we went to school. And really for me, that was like my first connection with a spiritual connection. Like that was my first faith-based experience in my life that I felt like what really turned me around. And so I'm really grateful for that program and that time I had. I think that my views have changed a little bit since then. But while I was in that program, I had one of my best friends there. She taught herself how to play the guitar, and she got an extra guitar. And my dad would always tell me, he was a huge music fan. If any of you guys that knew him that lived in Whittier, like he would host bands at his restaurants. Like he was just, music was his soul. And I feel like I totally inherited that from him. But he was a huge Rolling Stones fan. And like just growing up, like just so much music reminds me of him. And when I walked into this tattoo shop today, they were playing Leonard Skinner, and like I was just all of my dad's favorite music, and I was just like, fuck yeah. Like I felt like he was there with me, and I was like, okay, I know this is the right decision. But he would always tell me that the song Wild Horses by Rolling Stones reminded, every time he heard it, he said it would make me think of you. And so I got on that guitar and I learned how to play Wild Horses with my friend. And one time he came to visit me while I was in that program, and we played Wild Horses for him. And he just was like bawling, like he started crying. And it was just like a moment that we shared. And it kind of represented like the change that was taking place. You know, I'm sure as a parent, like him seeing me being willing to transform myself was like a weight off his shoulders. So it was just, you know, something special that we shared with each other. And so coming up on his 1-year anniversary, I just wanted to do something special. And before my dad passed away, he passed away when he was 59. He almost made it to 60. And if you just started following me, my dad had cancer for almost 14 years. Most people would never know because he never talked about it. It wasn't something he led a conversation with. A lot of, like, I met a girl not the other day, like a couple months ago, that had known my dad growing up, and she was like, I never even knew your dad was sick. And she loved him. She was like, he was like the dad everybody wanted in Whittier, and he would feed us and he would let us play music, and he was just all about creativeness. And so circling back to where I'm at now in my life, like I'm so happy that before my dad passed away, he got to see me like kind of find my own and like have a career I'm passionate about, and all this stuff I'm just so grateful for. But the last 2 years of my dad's life, he had never had a tattoo, and he was like a total hippie when he was growing up. He was a hippie. He literally hitchhiked across the country. He had long hair. Like he was just a rad dude. And like I feel like, you know, I got a piece of that for sure in my soul. And I feel like Haley has that too. But he never got a tattoo in any of that time. And he decided the last 2 years of his life, he was like, YOLO, like I'm just gonna get a tattoo. Why not? So he did. It'd be like every time I go over, he'd have like a new tattoo, and I'd be like, damn, Dad, you are getting inked up. And so before he passed away, he had an opportunity to get a tattoo with each of my siblings. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And I had talked with my dad about, Dad, I told him I really want to get a tattoo with you. I'm not really a tattoo person, but it would be super meaningful to me, and I want to do that. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Pick something out and let's go. And then he started getting really sick, and that was the least of the priorities. It was like surviving was the priority. So it just never happened. And so today I went and I got one, and it represents something special between my dad and I. And yeah, that's basically it. I just kind of wanted to share those things that I never really talk about, which is kind of weird because I share everything with everybody. Like I really have no shame. And so this is really the first time I'm sharing publicly this piece of my life. I think that having my kids, right about the time I got out of that rehab facility, I met Ryan. And a year after I met Ryan, we got pregnant, and that was a total shock and surprise. And, I'm so grateful for my kids, because really they're the reasons why I am the way I am today. They changed my perspective on life. They made me responsible. They made me really who I am today. And also I contribute that to my dad too, because my dad was always my number one supporter. No matter what I was doing or where I was at, my dad was always there, encouraging me to be better and to change and to grow and to find what made me happy in life.